to the Blackhawks Breakaway Podcast for CHSN. We are brought to you by Toyota. Toyota has more all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive vehicles than any other brand. Find yours and shine on. Toyota, let's go places. With 𝗵𝗏 I am Pat Boyle. Blackhawks lose their sixth in a row. They fall to the LA Kings 3-1 on Thursday night. Got off to another slow start, allowing 2 first-period goals. The high danger chances were 10-1 in favor of the Kings. Scoring chances were 19-2. And this came on the heels of the Seattle game where they got off to a great start, had a really poor second period. And we thought, like, after practice and then kind of talking about D-zone coverage and sorting and whatnot, that they would come out with a little more fire, and that was not the case.
It was not. I thought the first period against Seattle on Tuesday was legitimately one of the best first periods that we've seen the Blackhawks play in a very long time. And for things to go so sideways in the second and third periods was disappointing, to the point, Pat, where it sounded like Wednesday was supposed to be a scheduled off day, and the team, should say Blackhawks interim head coach Anders Sorensen, pivoted the plan to say, last night's effort was not good enough. They get called into a video session at 10:30 in the morning and they practice an hour later. And we were watching practice and they got to the end of the practice and they got into their stretch circle and nobody said a word. There wasn't a mood of guys joking around. Like, that was a very business-like practice. And I imagine the video session, there were a lot of hard things said. And I know Sorensen had said they showed some not so pleasant clips, had honest conversations. And so for the Blackhawks to carry into Thursday's game, 19 shots against in the first period and fall behind 2-0 to LA, that was a disappointing effort given what had transpired 48 hours earlier with the Seattle game. And hey, no more off day, come in, video session, practice. And so disappointing effort in the first period. I thought the second and third periods were fine, but at that point, when you give LA's got a 2-goal lead, they are probably the very best defensive team in the entire NHL. That's all they need for you to kind of shut it down. So in their minds, the game was probably over in the first period.
Yeah, I mean, a 2-0 lead with that defensive structured team is like a 4-zip lead against most teams. And to take it one step further from the Wednesday practice that kind of came together organically because it was a scheduled off day, we were standing together, and after they broke out of the stretch circle, they usually go into shooting on nets, and that's where you see the 2-puck, or you see kind of some camaraderie, and
they're looser,
and there was none of that. So, like, if you're reading the room, it was a very somber time, and here we are with 13 games or so left, second from the bottom in the standings. You can say all you want about them being, professionals and playing for their next contract or for their next team or for this team. But the reality is the LA Kings are in the throes of a playoff chase. They're third in the Pacific. They're trying to move up. They're trying to get a home ice advantage, which means a lot more to them than to most teams because of their unbelievable 23-3-4 record at home. So you're coming in with I don't want to say lopsided expectations, but lopsided incentive. Okay, right. And I'm not. They're human beings on the Blackhawks, and it's hard to ratchet it up to a level. It's just weird to me that when the team went through that 5-game point streak where they didn't get wins, but I think it was 3-0-2.
Yeah.
And it was on the heels of Spencer Knight's acquisition and the younger guys getting called up, and we know that we're going to see the Ryan Greens and Oliver Moore. We're going to see more call-ups and signings here when the collegiate seasons come to an end. It was kind of like feeling like this, okay, this is like the young guy vibe, and this is going to roll nicely into next season where we're going to see more of these guys on opening night. And they played that game in Colorado, and even though it was a 3-0 loss, it was like, okay, it was one of their better 3-0, And I mean, but then it just the wheels fell off, and it's so I don't know about you, but like the ebb and flow of this season. I mean, the highs, while they're not extremely high in a comparing them to a cup challenging team, there has not been a lot of median. It's been either all or nothing, and we're in one of those doldrum low points right now.
Yeah, to the point where I think Alex 𝗏𝗏 had said after Tuesday's game against Seattle, saying the morale feels like it's lower than it's ever been, probably because they felt like they were building such momentum post-trade deadline. Like Nick Foligno had those comments after the game a few weeks ago where it was like, you get rid of the distractions, and it kind of felt like a subtle jab at Seth Jones, where he had publicly wanted out or wanted to go to a contender to play some meaningful hockey. That happens, but not only does that happen, the Hawks get a potential bona fide number one starting goaltender in Spencer Knight, and that injects life into the group, not just because of his 41 save performance in his debut for the Blackhawks, but immediately after, he tells Darren Pang in the on ice interview, he gets the belt after the game. Even he's saying, I'm here to help them win hockey games. Like for him to have that mentality, we're going to play the Connor Bedard interview with Tony Granato later on, but even Connor was referencing how much that rubbed off on him, where he had that attitude right away when Spencer Knight got here to Chicago. And then the Hawks keep Ryan Donato through the trade deadline, which I'm sure a lot of guys inside that room were excited about. So you felt like, okay, things are starting to turn. The young guys are starting to infuse the roster. There's some energy building. And then for them to string together 6 losses in a row now, I think it's so deflating, because they thought they were maybe trending in a direction where the Hawks were going to at least finish the season on a positive note. And now, Pat, it's probably hard for them to look at 13 games left. It's like the end of the season is near. How do we not let our minds wander and finish this season strong, even though things have gone sideways quickly?
That's the challenge. That's the challenge. And again, we're talking about a room that is young now. I mean, we're talking on any given night, 10 players, 23 and under. So we're asking a lot of not only the veteran, but also the young player to, try to check everything that's happened at the door, focus on the task at hand. And again, that's easier said than done. I thought Spencer Knight, obviously his numbers have not been great over the last 4 starts, but he did everything to keep them in that game last night and give them an opportunity to come back, because that thing looked like it was going to get off the like it felt like this was like Seattle 2.0, where they scored 6 unanswered on Tuesday night, and I was like, oh boy, like they were sagging off on that first goal, like the things that Anders and the coaching staff and the players were talking about rectifying, and were the exact same things that happened on goal 1. I was like, oh my goodness, wow.
Yeah.
So I credit Spencer for shaking off, the rough first period by his team and keep battling and keeping them in that contest.
For sure. It even resembled the first game that he played against LA, where I remember it was the first 7 minutes he had faced 10 shots. And while I do think the Hawks start was a little bit better, like the first 5, 6, 7 minutes was better than the first game against LA, towards the final 13 minutes or whatever it was in Thursday's game, just LA like really asserted their dominance. And so, things could have gotten really off the rails it's really hard for the Blackhawks, because when things compound and the mistakes compound and you're near the end of the season, guys are just, it takes extra motivation or extra, you have to overcome more psychologically to try to get things back on the right track. And I think the Hawks are really fighting it right now.
Colton Dach went down in last night's game. It looked really bad initially, but it looks more favorable now. What, day-to-day hyperextended elbow?
Yeah, so when I heard Blackhawks interim head coach Anders Sorensen talk after the game yesterday when he was asked about it, he said he'll be evaluated tomorrow. We'll know more, but he's kind of resorted to day-to-day for now. It didn't seem encouraging where it's like, okay, we'll know the severity of it. Well, then today after practice, like I saw Colton watching practice from the bench, and I was like, oh, that's a good sign. And then afterwards, Sorensen was saying day-to-day left elbow. Basically, it was just a hyperextension. So when I saw that, Pat, I was like, that's exactly what 𝗵𝗶𝗹 looked like when he broke his wrist. You know, like his wrist was just flailing. And I thought because of when he fell, he had both hands on his stick, and I thought his wrist might have just snapped back. So fortunately for him and the team, sounds like it's more of a minor thing and not a serious thing, which is encouraging because I think the Hawks are at a point now where they really need to, they want to get as big of a sample size of all these young players going into the summer so they know what exactly we might have in those players moving forward and what roles we could peg them in.
Connor Bedard scored his 9th power play goal, back-to-back power play goals for him in consecutive games. He's up to 19 now on the campaign. They are struggling though, entering and setting up the power play. It's nice to see Bertuzzi get on the score sheet a couple consecutive games, but you know that's a player that you brought in here, signed to a large deal, and I think you expected more from him this year. He had that run when he was with Connor in late December and into January. He had a little run with Taylor Hall earlier in the season, but it's been way too streaky with Tyler Bertuzzi. And as you forecast this rebuild going forward, I think you really have to consider what realistically can you expect from Tyler Bertuzzi.
Right. We talk a lot about this when it comes to like playoff contenders where there are injuries in the lineup and then guys are starting to play a notch or two higher in the lineup when they're not really suited for those types of roles. And I think when the Blackhawks had signed Tyler Bertuzzi over the summer, immediately we're all like, oh, first line guy going to play with Connor Bedard. But then you think about the role that he was playing with the Toronto Maple Leafs, and he kind of found himself more in a middle six role that jumped up and played with Austin Matthews. He got a run there. Yeah, and so it's like he can do that. He can be a first-line guy sporadically, but maybe on a competitive team, he's probably more of a middle six guy. And so I think we're seeing that too. Right now, he's on the fourth line, and he's getting like 12 minutes of ice time the last few games, and that is just not good enough for a player that got paid like he should be playing a top six role. And so I do think at some point like that, he really needs to put that on his shoulders as well to help be a solution to help get the Blackhawks out of the funk that they're in. And you mentioned the power play. The second unit has been better than the first as of late. Even though the first unit has been getting the goals, it feels like the second unit has been generating more chances. They're just not breaking through.
Ilya Mikheyev, we continue to talk about him on this podcast, and for good reason. The player that we saw, flying around the ice at the beginning of the season, but not putting up the points, has absolutely flipped that script. He's now flying around the ice even more impressively, and he's producing. And because of that, he's the next contestant on The Price is Right to come on down. You're going to join Nazar and Bedard on the first line.
He is hitting the lottery right now. Gets promoted to the second power play unit. He's a key member of the penalty kill, and rightfully so. I think this is one of those scenarios that Sorensen is like, let's just ride the hot hand and see how far it takes us. And I have no problem with that, because it'd be different if guys like Bertuzzi were producing offensively, and you had like Mikheyev ideally is a third line guy, like a complementary piece on the third line. But the way that he's playing right now, it's like this is how Ryan Donato was playing earlier in the year. And it's like, hey, just put him on the line with Connor and let that magic run out. Then you can put him back into his original slot. And so I've been very impressed with Ilya Mikheyev as of late.
So we will see him with Nazar and Bedard. Again, Bedard on the wing with Nazar centering. I think, one thing next year when we're talking about this team, and I think it's going to be great to have Frank in that room from day one until the end of this season. I think he's going to bring some of that levity to the room that when you're riding the standings, so to speak, and you're feeling like where you are in the standings is kind of indicative of how you feel about yourself, and forecasting that they're probably not going to be extremely high. It is weighing, and you can talk all the time you want about big picture and zooming out. When you're in the day-to-day grind like these guys are, it's easier said than done. I think Frank's going to be that guy that when you're mired in a 5-game skid and you come in on a Thursday or a Friday to practice, he's going to be the guy that chirps Connor or has some fun with 𝗦𝗏𝗏 or what have you. And I think that that is something that this team needs to get through, again, the tough times of a rebuild.
Yeah, and the fact that he's such a rink rat too, I think rubs off on the guys, because it's not just the only thing he's bringing is like positive energy. It's like he's a guy that's producing right now, has been a real bright spot over the last few weeks, stays out late at practices, participates in almost every optional morning skate, and he's out there with the young guys. And so I think he certainly has that infectious energy to him. It was a few weeks ago, Frank Nazar was going up to everyone inside the locker room, and he's like, top of the morning. And I was like, wow, he's feeling really nice. Like, he's always in a really good mood. But then we see the video that comes out on St. Patrick's Day on Monday that he was mic'd up and he was trying to get people to say or how many times he could say that to people. So he really does have that infectious energy to him, and very, very down to earth kid as well.
Yeah. And obviously he's doing that for social media, and the Hawks do a really nice job with that. The team that comes up with different ideas, and there's some players that unwillingly are participants, and then there's those that are willing participants. Frankie Nazar is a willing participant, and I always said after we drafted him, like, he is going to be this combo 𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗹 𝗟𝗶 and
Yes.
like Andrew Shaw type, where you're going to see him a lot. He's going to bring some levity, but he's also going to do his job on the ice.
100%. And it was funny to see how competitive that they were all getting about the timer at 3.12.
Yeah.
Like, they were all
isn't that like,
that's awesome.
And like when you look at Bedard's reaction, like, no, that was good.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
he takes it so it's hilarious. It's funny, but like, those are little things that show you the inner workings of how competitive they are.
Yeah, for sure. And it's funny because we had a front row seat to it. So we saw them filming it in real time. And Connor did it 3 different times because he wanted to get closer. Then he realized you actually have to stop it at 3.12, not 3 seconds on the dot. That's why he thought it was good. And then there's Jason Dickinson that gets it. And you got Bedard and 𝗵𝗏𝗏𝗃 watching Jason do it. And he's staring at the camera. And he stops it like around 7 seconds. And afterwards, we're all like, what are you doing? And he's like, I didn't want to play your game, so I did 7. So it's just like, all right. It's like, there's a lot of that going on. And like, Nazar sits he sits towards the end of the locker room. So he's kind of like peeking over, like, what'd you get? So there is that cool camaraderie that's happening inside the locker room.
Anything you want to talk about on the back end? 𝗦𝗏𝗏𝗃 and 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗃 have been paired together. Del Mastro and Connor Murphy. Alec Martinez and 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 have been together the last couple of games. Anything on the back end?
Not much. I did want to add, though, we were talking to Nick Foligno at practice on Wednesday after that weird controversial no goal that happened in the Tuesday game against Seattle, where the Hawks were up 2-1. They thought they scored to go up 3-1, but the officials waved it off. And we got clarification from Foligno afterwards, just saying, like, what explanation did you get? And he was saying he just didn't understand why the official jumped on top of the net, which blocked the overhead camera. But even when I was watching the video, I was like, the puck clearly crosses the goal line before the official even goes to blow the whistle, because it's not when the whistle blows, it's when the intent of the blown whistle. And I didn't even see the official raise his arm up yet when the puck was in the net. So then we talked to Anders Sorensen after, and Sorensen said the officials skated up towards our bench and said, do you guys want to challenge it? And Sorensen saying, if we challenge it, this is an unchallengeable play. We'll get a misconduct penalty. And so I got a lot of comments from fans saying, were the officials trying to bait the Blackhawks into a penalty? I don't think that was the case. I think what the discrepancy was is you can challenge whether the puck crossed the goal line or not, but you can't challenge whether the puck crossed before or after the intent of a blown whistle. So I don't know where the miscommunication happened with the officials, but clearly the Hawks made the right call by not challenging because that is an unchallengeable play.
Yeah, it's another example, though, not only for the coaching staff and the players and those that were at the United Center and those that are watching or listening on WGN radio, like all it would have taken was the play was blown dead with intent, and maybe the intent to blow the whistle came before the actual whistle was blown. And at that point, the puck had not, whatever the explanation is that they had, take 10 seconds and share it with everybody. So 3 days later, we're not having this conversation. It's insane that we're having this conversation when it could have been cleaned up, right then and there.
Yeah, it's another example of why it would be cool for a pool reporter to ask after the game, hey, what exactly is the rule here? And because they did huddle up afterwards inside the penalty box, and then all they said is, call on the ice is no goal. And it's like, well,
yeah, thanks.
What? Thank you. We know that,
why?
but why
no goal? Yeah, I mean,
right.
it's an 8-10 second explanation. It's really, it's not going to add any, ridiculous time to it.
Yeah, and the tough part about that was Seattle they score on the very next shift, like 19 seconds later, and they score immediately after to make it 3-2. And credit to Foligno, he said the bigger issue is that we can't allow 2 goals in that short of a span right after that. But if the goal counts, it's a 3-1 game for the Blackhawks, and it changes the entire complexion of things. All
right, our colleague Tony Granato sat down with Connor Bedard on Wednesday this week, and you can see the and hear the full interview coming up right now on our podcast. We had part of it on Countdown Live last night. We'll have more of it on Saturday. Here now is Connor Bedard with Tony Granato.
Well, first of all, Connor, thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
the first thing that I want to get to is going back to before you were a Blackhawk. And did you watch the lottery with family?
Yeah, I did.
And when the Blackhawks logo came up, what were you thinking?
I was trying to watch as a fan. Obviously, it had, some impact on where I was going to go. But, I was excited. Like, obviously, Original Six. It's just such a storied franchise and city and everything. So, obviously, real time was when it was official at the draft. But knowing that was a likely possibility was pretty exciting.
So who was the first one in the Blackhawk organization to talk to you, and when could they begin conversation to say, hey, we're thinking about taking you the first pick overall?
Probably might have been the Combine. We had the meetings and stuff at the Combine, and just talked to the whole staff, Kyle and everyone, and it was a very good conversation, obviously, and felt a good relationship right away. Really comfortable to talk to all of them, so that was a nice feeling going into the draft.
So Combines, a lot of people don't know what the Combines are for hockey, and that was probably 100+ players that show up in Buffalo.
Yeah.
You go do all these tests. What was it like going there, and how nervous were you about having to do all the strength and conditioning tests, jump on the bike, and do all those tests? How, for a 17-year-old kid, what was that like?
Honestly, that wasn't too nerve-wracking. I think the only thing is that one bike test, you don't want to pass out or something when you're done. But, it was fun. I knew so many guys there. It was an enjoyable experience. And, going there, I wasn't really nervous. I knew that, I think they're watching you all year play. And that's important, is what you do on the ice. It's, you can't, obviously there's things you can do in the gym that, promote what you do on the ice. But in the end, it's about how you play hockey. So I was just going there trying to enjoy it and kind of take that experience in.
So you get through the draft, you get through the Combines, lots of things are happening, the draft's coming up soon. As you prepared for the draft and got ready for it, and you heard your name called, you go up to the stage and you got to put the Blackhawk jersey on for the first time as official member of the Blackhawk organization. Do you remember what it felt like to put that jersey over your head when Kyle called your name?
Yeah, it was a special moment, being there with my family and just getting to enjoy that experience with them. And obviously when your name's called, and you don't really remember walking up or anything, but that first moment of putting it on, I kind of looked down at the crest, and it's a pretty special experience. So I think it's obviously once in a lifetime. So just tried to enjoy it, and that was a cool moment.
And then you come to Chicago not long after that. Do you remember the first time you got off the plane in Chicago? What your feelings were when you say, "Wow, this is where I'm going to be for the next many years"? Did you remember that experience?
Yeah, I think just trying to, I'd never been to the city, so I really just wanted to, experience it. And we did the development camp there, and we didn't skate, so we did a lot of, we did like boat tour, stuff like that, and really got to take the city in. So I think they did a good job with that to get us familiar with everything, and start building relationships with the young guys and whatnot. So it was a fun little week to kind of get to know the city a bit.
Yeah, and then you got rookie camp, and then you jump into your NHL camp, and before you know it, you're running out of the locker room to come on the ice for your first exhibition at the United Center. Do you remember as you got on the ice what your feeling was? Did you have to do a rookie lap, by the way, in exhibition?
No, just in Pittsburgh there for the first game.
Okay.
But yeah, I think the biggest thing that stuck out was probably the anthem the first time I listened to it. It was preseason, but it was still pretty loud and energetic in there. So that was something I remember really well. And once you're on the ice, it's just hockey, and you're just playing. You're not really, thinking about it like that, or at least I'm not. I'm just kind of out there playing. So, but when you're driving to the rink, leading up to it, kind of your first few times, it's a little bit surreal for sure.
And then it comes, like everything's happening fast. Then the opening night, you and Sid are facing off to against one another to start the NHL season. That must have been a special moment to have Sid, come up to you. I don't know exactly what the conversation was, but there's your idol that you grew up idolizing, and all of a sudden you're on the ice playing against Sidney Crosby. Tell us a little bit about that night.
I think same thing. Once you're playing, you're not thinking about it too much. Obviously, that's someone I grew up idolizing, and I think in warm up and the anthem and stuff, that's kind of when you're taking it in. But in the end, when you're playing, everyone's a competitor, and I don't think you can really be too starstruck during the game. You might lose focus a little bit. So I was just trying to play hockey and take the experience in, but play the best I could.
Did you let him win that first draw?
I didn't let him, but he sucked that back on me pretty good. So
he did snap that one back there. He's competitive.
He's
not going to say, "Hey, welcome to the league. I'll let you win this one." He's competitive.
No, that was funny.
Yeah,
I was digging in there too. I thought I was going to get it, but not even close.
So one thing that I find so amazing, and I remember as a player, driving on a bus, and I look out the window and I see a Granato jersey, and there weren't a lot of them, but when you saw one, I'm like, holy cow, someone paid a lot of money to wear my jersey. You see it everywhere, and you started seeing it as soon as the draft happened. Probably as soon as the lottery pick it was made and the Blackhawks got it, all of a sudden Bedard jerseys are all over the place. You had jerseys when you were a kid? Did you have a special jersey as an NHL player?
Yeah, I think I had a couple Canucks ones. You
didn't have 𝗵𝗍𝗃, did you?
No, I don't think so.
I've heard a lot about 𝗵𝗍𝗃 and you. And
I feel like he's making it a little bit. No, but I skated with him once when I was pretty young. Him and Dan Hamhuis came to one of our skates. But I think I just had I don't even know if I had a number on the back, but I'm trying to think. I gotta go look.
So, what was your feeling when you pull into Chicago or you go to the draft, and all of a sudden there's Bedard jerseys all over the place? Did you like, holy cow, what the heck just happened?
I think I was experiencing for the first time in Regina when there was jerseys of me there, my teammates there, and kind of that first experience of that is a little weird. I remember the first time seeing someone wear my jersey. It was like right after the Dub draft. I was 14, I guess, and someone was on the news. There was like a robbery or something weird, and this guy's doing an interview in my jersey. I was like, what the?
Was he guilty of the robbery, or was he reporting the robbery?
I don't know. He was.
Maybe he robbed the jersey.
I think he was just a random guy that was there or something weird. the details are very off, I'm sure, but that was the first time I saw someone kind of rocking my jersey. So
That's pretty cool.
yeah, it's cool.
I promise nobody had my jersey at 14.
Yeah.
But so you get here, the rookie year, lots happening. You're going to all these new places. The media's following you around like a rock star. So you got lots of new things coming into your world besides just playing hockey. How did you come to grips with understanding that, holy cow, this is all happening to me, and all I want to do is play hockey? How did you handle all that outside noise?
Yeah, I think that's all you can do is focus on the controllables. And I mean, yeah, I'm here to play hockey, and obviously that other stuff comes with it, and something that you try to embrace. And for me, I'm not the most comfortable person on a camera or anything like that, so just trying to get more comfortable with that and be able to kind of keep saying comfortable, but
that's right. I want you to be comfortable.
Kind of just show who you are a little bit, and for me, I think that's something that I'm still learning and still growing at. I mean, hockey's the fun part. It's what you've done since you were a kid, but there's so much more to it. The fans and everything that get to see you. So that's an important part and something that you try to take on a little bit. But obviously the main goal is the main goal. So. Just want to play hockey. So
when you're picked first overall that the team you're probably going to is in complete rebuild because they were the worst in the league or one of the worst teams in the league to be able to get that lottery pick. And you come in, you have a great year from the standpoint that you got points, you played well, you win the Rookie of the Year, lots of great accomplishments individually, but the team is still going through the rebuild. How did you stay comfortable in understanding that rebuild's a rebuild? And you can't win overnight. Mm-hmm. Were you able to still enjoy that, even though the team wasn't winning as much as you preferred it to be? How did you handle that pressure of being that first pick and thinking that the fans thinking that, okay, because Connor's here, we're supposed to just win?
Yeah, I think, in the end you got to realize it's a process, but, when we're going out there, we're trying to win, we're expecting to win. So obviously you're going to be frustrated when you're not doing that, but when you kind of sit back. And I think especially this year, seeing a lot of younger guys come up and make an impact and be in the room, just building those relationships, you kind of see what we're going for here. And obviously right now we're not where we want to be in the standings or whatever, but if we can just keep growing and at this age, I'm 19, we got 20-year-olds, 21-year-olds that if we can learn how to play now when we're 24, 25, and we're a lot better and we can be competing then. So not saying that we don't expect to be competing next year or the year after. We're always going to go out there with the expectation to win, but if we can just grow and learn as much as we can throughout these first few years of our careers, that's just going to make us better.
And I think that's outstanding because I've been in lots of locker rooms, watched lots of teams have to struggle through the building process. And as I watch and I see, not just the players that are here, but I see the group that's coming too, I can see that. And I'm more excited, now, even though you guys have struggled through, your second year, there's so many positive things that, in whether it be 2 or 3 or 4 years, you can see where it's going and the direction it's going. And as a broadcaster or part of the organization on that side of things, it's really comforting to hear you say those same things. But now how do you say that to the fans? Be patient, stick with us. And Spencer Knight was a big key. Tell us what it meant to the organization on the, acquiring a goalie of his status and the impact that he's had since he's been here.
Yeah, first off, we want the fans to have the expectation to win. This is a winning city, a winning culture, and, we don't want to change that. And, like I said, we're still going out there with the expectation to win, and I think the fans know they're knowledgeable on hockey of where we're at. They know we're young and growing, but we don't want them to be okay with us not winning as much as they want. Their fans, they're competitive too, so I think that's what makes it fun. And they stay in it obviously, but we're going out there, we're trying our hardest to win, and we're just going to keep getting better. But yeah, like you talk about with Nighter there, he was a first-round pick as a goalie. That's pretty rare. I think 15th overall or something like that. So to get a guy like that, that's 23 years old, that's won a Stanley Cup, been in that locker room with those guys, and that's huge. And obviously his performance speaks for itself, but such a professional off the ice. I think being in a locker room that has won has been so beneficial for him, at least he says, and you can see it in his preparation and approach to the game.
Yeah, and you got 𝗏𝗂 up now, you got Nazar up, you got Kevin Korchinski was up all last year, and you got lots of different pieces that you can kind of see, but you guys are all still young. And then Spencer comes in, and after his first game, he makes that bold statement of, hey, listen, I came from a winning organization. I came here to win. We're going to do it. What does that do for the other younger guys to have somebody come in, like you said, that has won and says that to you guys? Does that bring you guys, the energy to say, okay, I see it now too, and it's starting to make me feel more comfortable with this youth kind of movement? Did that help a lot?
I think so. I mean, whenever someone else comes up, it gives you a little energy, and obviously it's a long season, and when you're losing, it makes it even longer. But when you see someone come and bring that excitement, bring that energy to the room, and he was just so fired up to be here. Obviously, it was a shock to him to be traded, and I think people don't think about the off-ice part. You're picking up your life and moving to different city, different teammates, and everything. So just for him to come with that approach was awesome. And then you mentioned, a week ago, 𝗬𝗏 comes up, and he's pretty happy-go-lucky guy. That's pretty fun to be around. So he brings a lot of energy, and he looks great. I think he's gonna be like a stud. So that's exciting.
Good. And then as you go through the second year, and again, you said, you're trying to win and you want to win, and when the same pattern seems to keep happening as happened the first year, a little bit of push, like things are starting to come together, and then another setback. How are you handling the competitiveness that you have in you and the desire to win? How are you handling that to be able to stay focused on the big picture and then learn from what's going on to help you as you move forward?
Yeah, I never want to be comfortable with losing, or lose and you're still kind of fine with it. So I think we all got to keep that competitiveness and expectation to win, like I mentioned earlier, but just keep growing and learning, and every game, every practice, you can take something out of it. So I think that's what I try to do, and some days I'm not doing it, some days I'm pissed off, but it's a process, and you don't want to look at it as a sprint. It's a long thing, and it's a cool feeling when I kind of look back and know that I'm a part of that, and get to grow with these guys. And when we're good, when we're winning, it's gonna be we're gonna be looking back, laughing at this a little bit, and it's gonna make it that much sweeter. So that's exciting. Nice.
And do you have to remind yourself, with all you've gone through, that you're only 19? Do you still have to understand you're still that young? Or is there just, I've gone through so much already, I'm mature, whatever, or do you still see, geez, I'm still a kid, I've already done all of this? Where are you at as far as how you think through that?
That's not something I really look at too much. I'm just trying to play the game, trying to get better, and I feel like I have a good approach to the game, and to my commitment off the ice, on the ice, to improve. And obviously you got to figure out what's best for you and what's going to make you better, and give you the best consistency. But I don't think if I struggle or anything, it's ever because I didn't put everything I could into giving myself the best chance to play well or to improve. So it's something that I take a lot of pride in, and I know a lot of our guys do that.
So if you have a tough game and the game's over, how do you reset and refocus and not let that tough loss or a disappointment or something that frustrated you in that game carry over into the next practice or into the next game? Are you able to file it and move forward, or is that something that you're continually trying to get better at?
Yeah, a bit of both. I mean, I think there's a lot of times where I can, I'm upset that night or frustrated that night, and then maybe the next day you're at practice with your teammates, and you kind of forget about it. But when things kind of string together a little bit, sometimes it can be tougher, and that's something that you got to work on and figure out. But for me, I'm definitely feel I'm getting a little better at disassociating from the rink and when I'm at home. Whether that's, I don't even know, something stupid, watching a show or whatever, where you're not thinking about the game. That's something that I think is important, and I'm getting a little better at for sure.
A couple more things. Your sister, you said, is your idol and mentor. Madison, she's coming to town soon. Tell us about why she has that much of an impact on you and why you look up to her so much.
Yeah, I think when you grow up with someone and, I think when you're the younger sibling, you kind of are just automatically going to look up to the older one. And even when, she goes to high school or whatever and goes through those experiences, then she's, telling you about it and stuff. So it was always, I was always learning from her. And I mean, she helps me with so much stuff. Like, I'm a bit of a liability with a lot of things off the ice. So, I'll be texting her,
how do I
asking
do this?
her, yeah, exactly. How do I do this? I need advice on that. And she's always there, like anything I need, or whatever. And we're close. Like, she's a fun person to be around. We're best friends. And, I think just getting to have a relationship like that with the siblings pretty special.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So cool. Anything else you would like to say to the fans, or anything else that we didn't cover that would be important for Blackhawk fans to know?
I don't know. I mean, we all appreciate everything. We know it's, like you said, they're coming to the rink and they're supporting, and no matter where we are in the standings, we go to the game. It's loud, it's energetic, and I love playing here. I love being in the city, and I feel so fortunate to get to be here every day, and we're going to keep getting better, and I think they should be excited. It's a cool time, and I think all the Chicago sports, you see what the Bears are doing and stuff, and it's an exciting time. So just keep cheering us on, and we're going to give it our all.
Nice. All right. The last thing, you have a cousin by marriage that is going to be a potential first pick in a couple of years.
Yeah.
In Gavin, what would you say to him that Sidney said to you or Wayne said to you as you went up to, be that first pick and have that happen? What would you say to Gavin?
Yeah, I mean, I've reached out with him or texted with him a little bit. He's texted me, I've texted him, and I think just enjoy where he is right now. Like, I look back on my time in Regina, it was so fun. Like that and World Juniors and everything, and in the moment you're like, man, I gotta play well today, and I want to get to that next level. Obviously, everyone does, and but just enjoy it. Like, it's the best. You're with the guys. You're on the bone rattler for 10 hours, getting back home at 6, 7 in the morning, and whatever. It's all so much fun. So just enjoy the process, and he's got another year and a bit till it's his draft, and he's gonna do great. I mean, he's breaking all my
Is he breaking
my
your
point
records?
things, whatever, in juniors. So it's exciting to watch, and it's gonna come, and he's gonna be in the NHL before he knows it. But it's just gotta enjoy the process.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your time. I know the fans, and I'll speak on behalf of them, appreciate everything you've given us so far in the first couple of years here, and we look forward to many, many great years in front of you. And we love the process on how this team's building, and go get it.
Yeah, sounds good.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
My takeaway from this conversation is, again, how appreciative he is to play here in Chicago, how he keeps the losing and puts it in perspective. Never going to be comfortable with it. He's able to see, I think these young guys coming in have, it's taken the talk of young players are coming, and it's married it with the visualization of seeing young players coming and then producing. Like when he talks about 𝗏𝗏, he's going to be a stud.
Right.
Like, you can
and
tell.
With Spencer Knight too.
Yeah, Spencer Knight. And then they're going to look back when they reach the mountaintop. They're going to look back at these times and laugh. And I think that's, again, and we have to put it in perspective. He is 19, and he's done a lot at a very young age. And a lot has been expected and asked of him, and he's delivered quite a bit so far.
That last part, what you just said, that it was exactly what my takeaway was. Because I see, sometimes you see the fans, like hockey fans are saying, oh, if the Hawks keep losing, Connor Bedard's going to request a trade or whatever. And they get so flippant with that. There have been some media members that have been irresponsibly sharing that take too, which I don't know why. But then you hear what Connor's saying, like, I love this city. I love being a part of this team, the logo, whatever. And then he says, you know, when we're winning, it's going to be something that we look back on and laugh. So like, hopefully that squashed all of the talk, because it just seems like outside noise at this point. Connor is he's so invested in winning and wants to win that he just wants it to happen now. But he understands that it's a process, and they're just trying to find a way to make that, to close the gap, to make it happen a little bit sooner.
Up next for the Blackhawks, Binnington in the Blues. It's an afternoon tilt in St. Louis, 2:00. Pre-game shows on radio and television at 1:30. Do you know what got the Blues season back on track? Not just the coaching change. You know what changed it?
It's a 10-round shootout win, wasn't it?
I think it was the Winter Classic. If you take a look at their numbers in January, February is a little wonky because of the 2-week break, and then again in March. I think their performance at Wrigley Field and what that game meant to them, I think helped propel them and get them back on track.
Yeah, you could be right. I was looking at, I think it was the game before. So since the February 8th game where they won 6-5 in a shootout, the Blues are 11-2-2 over their last 15 games. So I think that was the last game before the Four Nations break. So that I don't know if that propelled them, but maybe you're right. Maybe it goes back.
Well, I mean, they've been a very streaky team. So, but they did go on a long run in the month of January following the New Year's Eve victory against the Blackhawks. So that's going to do it for us. 2 games, 2 matinees. Everybody knows the rules. Blues on Saturday, Flyers on Sunday, and we'll reconvene for a podcast probably Monday.
All right. Soderblom and net against St. Louis. Spencer Knight gets the home one on Sunday.
That's going to do it for the Breakaway Podcast for CHSN. Brought to you by Toyota. For Charlie Roumeliotis, I'm Pat Boyle. Thanks again to Tony Granato and Connor Bedard for joining the podcast and that great interview. We will catch you next time.